Howdy folks, Research Warrior back here again today. I'm going to talk about the lies that exist in the quote holy books, but before I do, I'll just let you know that I have sheets in front of me. I always prepare myself and put down what I'm going to say so it comes out freely in a flowing fashion. When I came back from my tour in Vietnam, I saw I would never ever again go to war, nor will I ever be lied to. In order for man to wake up, she has to educate themselves. There are many schools of education. I do not believe in the mainstream worldwide education scheme. As far as I'm concerned, they are merely education systems as such to recruit the world elitists who are then turned in to the upper echelon and that they look down upon men. And I'm not saying that they're all like that, but there are many of them that are, and they are the ones that actually control the world as it is today. When I began to study the Old Testament and also the New Testament, I was shocked in what I found out, to say the least. We've been lied to, manipulated and killed in the name of religions. One day, religions from my perspective will be no more. They won't be needed. I am not religious, as I said, but I'm spiritual. There is a supreme force, energy, and love is its source. It is positive and it has to have an opposite. Hence, the division in our societies worldwide. So before I decode the Old Testament, I will just bring to your attention the fact that there exists books within the books. In other words, look at the Bibles as a contract as such. Read between the lines. If you do not read between the lines, you've been duped. Why don't people that deal with you, with anything to do with money, right, give you a magnifying glass and insist that you read the fine print? Of course they won't, because if they do, they don't make their money. It's as simple as that. There are 39 books in the Old Testament and there are 27 in the New Testament. That alone should ring alarm bells. Why were the most important books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers and Deuteronomy, left out of the New Testament? At the beginning of the Bible, King James Version, is the heading to the reader. If you go straight down to the bottom of the first page of the New Revised Standard Version, I beg your pardon, revised, how is it possible to revise original words? Once original words, quote, have been revised, they're not original words. In other words, the message that we are getting these days is not the true message. So it's as simple as that. Near the bottom it says, the Bible carries its full message, and I'll skip forward a bit to bypass propaganda, who wish to use it to enhance political purposes and advance otherwise desirable goals. It continues, the message must not be disguised in phrases that are no longer clear or hidden under words that have changed and lost their meanings. Well, sorry, it is the revised edition. Meaning words have been changed many times. Speaking about contradictions, wow. What has and is happening is precisely what the Bible has said must not be done. Religion has been turned into a tool, and a killer one at that. Let's jump into the rabbit hole, shall we? First of all, there are 12 books left out of the New Testament. Look up the letter J in a comprehensive dictionary or encyclopedia, and you will discover that the letter J is only some 500 years old. It is the newest letter in any alphabet. So with no J in existence during the time of Yahshua, Y-A-H, Yahshua, the name Jesus did not exist either. Jesus is Yahshua. In the book of Matthew, New Testament, it reads, an angel told the Hebrew Miriam Mary, and Joseph, what to call their newborn son. It reads, "And shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Yeshua, for he shall save his people from their sins." Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The Bible also quotes the Saviour himself, Yeshua, Jesus, saying that he came in his heavenly Father's name. This is what it said, right? "I have come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name," meaning Jesus, and remember the letter J, "him you will receive." Him you will receive. This is in John 5:43. The prefix Yah in the name Yeshua comes directly from the Father's name, Yahweh. Yeshua literally and truly came in his Father's name. The short family name Yah is found in many names in the Old Testament. Isaiah instead of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Yael as in Joel, Elijah as in Elijah. In the original Hebrew manuscripts which produced the Old Testament, you will find the name in the complete form WHWH, those four letters. They are pronounced Yod-He Vav-He. Yahweh. No fewer than 6,823 times. The Teutonic term God does not appear in the Hebrew Old Testament, the Torah. The Greek term for the God, or for God, is theos, or a close variant thereof. Think about this for a moment. Actually dwell on it. Who are we really praying to? If the two most important popular names used for the Father and Son are even in the original scriptures. Now, how can the worshipper say, "I'll decide what to call you," in reference to the Holy Father, when in actual fact, the Father, Yahweh, is adamant 6,823 times to be called by his real name? And I say only him because I'm a male, and if a woman was to call Yahweh her, would be correct, because Yahweh is both genders. No one can change a name without your consent. That's the truth. When you look up John 3:13 in the New Testament, it says, "No one has ascended, risen, into heaven except the one who descended from heaven." So what does this tell you about Elijah? As a matter of fact, Jesus. The word that Jesus, Yeshua, spoke should make you ask yourself, how did Jesus know that no man had ascended up to heaven over 9,000 years after the event? Elijah was taken. He did not ascend into heaven. He was taken in a whirlwind, a chariot of fire, and horses of fire. Sounds like a spaceship. And what must be taken into account also is the description of these alien crafts was limited to their language of the day. So if Elijah did not go to heaven, where did he go? Well, everything above the ground is called heaven. So the first heaven is Earth's atmosphere, where birds fly. The second heaven is outer space. And the third heaven is literally called the third heaven, with such names as his Father's house, paradise, heaven of heavens, the heavenly Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven, and the eternal kingdom. Tells me what Elijah was taken to outer space by the alien spacecraft. He was taken there by an alien spacecraft. Hence chariots of fire, the description. In other words, the second of the third heavens was where it was taken. What must be taken into account is the fact that God, Yahweh, is not merely the God of heaven and earth, but of infinity itself. The houses of many mansions of God and flocks of all kind of beings, not just earthlings. God, Yahweh, would not be so silly to place his eggs in one basket full of idiots with their heads buried in the sand. In John 3:13 it says, "No one has ascended into heaven except the one who descended from heaven, the Son of Man." How is this sentence to be taken? Well, from my perspective, it is a contradiction of monumental proportions, and I'll show you why. Daniel Wallace is a noted scholar and also professor of the New Testament at the Dallas Theological Seminary. He makes the following statement: we must remember that the King James Bible of today is not the King James of 1611. It has incorporated more than 100,000 changes whilst undergoing 3 revisions. However, there are other biblical scholars who refute the statement, and the fors and against can argue as much as they like. Let's have another look at the Elijah. The chariot must have entered the first heaven, meaning just above the earth where the birds fly, and he was transferred, taken to another place. Since Elijah wrote a letter many years later, that means he was not dead. He did not go to heaven. He wrote a letter. Look up Chronicles 2:21, 12, 15. So Enoch and Elijah, the important point to consider in reference to both Enoch and Elijah is that the Bible clearly teaches that no one ascended to heaven. And also Acts 2:29, also 34 emphasizes this fact as well. Now, when the Apostle Peter gave his sermon, even the righteous King David was still in his grave, about 1,000 years after his death. This means that whilst alive, both Enoch and Elijah went for, quote, joyride in spacecrafts. How many people know of the books that were banned from the Bible? That's right, deleted from the Bible. For example, the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, the Gospels of Mary, and the Apocalypse of Peter. These are just a few of some 52 books that didn't make it in the Bibles. Wow, what's going on? It was some 150 years after Yeshua, Jesus, was born that a man named Marcion decided that a Christian Bible was needed to replace the Hebrew Bible. Then the church leaders decided to hop on the bandwagon and agreed that Christians should have a Bible to call their own. Many people who follow the Bible think that Constantine the Great converted to Christianity in the 4th century. Well, he was baptized on his deathbed. He was a pagan right to the very last minute of his breath. The stories in all the religious books are just that, they're stories. The 3 sister religions have to be revised and rewritten once again. And why is that? Because the ones that mix their DNA with that of man, as in the Old Testament, Hebrew scriptures, where it says in Genesis 6:4, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans, 2 distinct species which mixed, who bore children to them. Yahweh, God, did not create creation. Look at everything that you see around you. It does not come from just one source, but from billions of sources. We are part of that source. We all tap as such into this source. Think about this idea. Think about this for a moment, right? Ideas come from what is not seen, nor fully understood. When you project your idea, coupled with some 6.8 billion ideas that come from you and me and turn it into the visible, material, three-dimensional world, you have reality. Really? There is no resurrection of the body. It too belongs here, in the three-dimensional world, and is merely a visible vehicle that carries the real you and me, that which is not seen. The spirit, soul, is what goes back to its original source. You can call it the cosmic battery as such. So to all suicide bombers sacrifice themselves to Ilah, the Arabic god, not Allah, but Ilah, what are you going to do with 72 virgins when you have nobody and neither do they? Wake up. There are trillions and trillions of galaxies, of planets that also have life on them, that come in all shapes and forms, and we and all living beings, animals, humans, birds, etc., are interconnected. That is the truth. In the very beginning, man was not controlled by any government simply because they did not exist. Governments did not exist back then. There was no need to turn religion into an organization or an institution, but it was. It is the biggest money maker, or at least one of the biggest money maker ever. Look at all the Bible bashers in America. Practically every one of them has been jailed for robbing their, quote, flock. Wake up, we've been duped and tricked. Eve came from Adam's rib. Bullshit. Okay? Bullshit. She only came from Adam's rib because man wants her to do his bidding. Today, that is not the case any longer. As a matter of fact, Eve was not Adam's first wife. That's right. Lilith was the first wife, and she took off from Adam because she refused to lay below him in the sex act. She was his equal. So in comes Eve, obedient Eve, and the life of Adam and Eve has a more detailed story in creation, in the story of creation, than what is found in Genesis. This was one of the books left out of the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Let's look at the first chapter in Genesis. God created humankind. Think about that, humankind. On the sixth day of creation, humankind was created male and female, and is spoken of as a plural throughout the story of Genesis. Have a listen to Genesis 1:26. Then God said, let us make humankind in our image. That's right, more than one God, according to our likeness, and let them, I'll repeat that, and let them, plural, more than one, have dominion over, so on and so on. Now in Genesis 2 it says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude, the word multitude, which includes, quote, them, that was mentioned, them, which is you and me. It is from this point on that it gets very interesting. In 2:24, still in Genesis, it reads, then the Lord God, Lord mentioned for the first time, formed man from the dust of the ground. This was the beginning of the cover-up of man's mixture with that of the alien DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid. Today, the existence of aliens is no longer a secret. Far from it. Millions of people worldwide have filmed them on video recorders, pictured them, so our governments can no longer lie to us. Sadly, when your alien brothers and sisters, both good and bad, just as us humans, reveal themselves officially, there will be chaos and millions of deaths. Needless deaths. I say needless because we all have been programmed to believe in a God we've never seen. We've been programmed to do that. I would have no problem in seeing, quote, God for the first time coming down to earth in his vehicle, in a spaceship. Now, in Ezekiel, his vision, the story of Ezekiel, his vision of the four wheels, the four wheels were associated with the four living creatures. Now this is the description in the Old Testament about Ezekiel's vision as such of what he saw, and it was obviously a spaceship. Each wheel was actually one in two, with one apparently set inside the other at right angles, which enabled the, quote, living creatures, aliens, to move it. Now the word move means there was a crew. There was a crew that was making that vehicle move, okay, in any direction, instantly, without having to turn, like a flash of lightning. Okay, so there's no need to go any further. Ezekiel saw a spaceship. I won't insult my viewers. So as I stated, I have no problems whatsoever in seeing God, Yahweh, call him, her, whatever you want. However, if you are religious, please by his real name, of which he was adamant that you do so. Remember, no less than 6,823 times. Coming in a spacecraft. Seriously, what's the big deal? So God comes down in a spacecraft. We have already been conditioned for Yahweh's, God's return. We are presently being deprogrammed. The world is transforming, and it has talked to us on many occasions, because Earth itself is a living sentient being. As for the Bible, Jesus' story, he was from my perspective a revolutionist, a troublemaker. As for his mother, Mary, Miriam, her husband was not Jesus' father, because Mary was already pregnant when they married. There definitely was no immaculate conception. However, the reason there was an immaculate conception, right, there wasn't, but there was a reason for that it was to uphold the Catholic dogma, the Roman Catholic dogma. In other words, a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as being true. And it is far from being the truth. Mary was not born free of sin and full of grace. However, the Catholic hierarchy said she was. However, even the founding fathers of the Catholic Church already knew she wasn't born free of sin. When the Catholic Church began to form centuries later, it wasn't hard at all to fashion Mary into the role of Mary, Queen of Heaven. This was blasphemous. But the charade of the Catholic clergy continued. They denied the truth from faithful Catholics. They kept the truth from them. I do have many friends. My wife is a Catholic, a baptized Catholic. So what I'm saying is I'm disclosing, showing what is based on research and not hatred. I'm looking things up for myself and I'm passing them on to you because we have been lied to. Nowhere in scriptures is Mary described as the Holy One. Mary was described by God as highly favoured. Highly favoured. In Luke 1:28, thus, this phrase, highly favoured, comes from a single word, Greek word, which essentially means much grace. Grace is unmerited favour. Grace is unmerited favour, meaning something we receive despite the fact we do not deserve it. Catholics bow down to the statues and images of Mary. Scriptures clearly forbid it. I'll repeat that. Correct myself a little bit. Catholics bow down to the statues and images of Mary. Scriptures clearly forbid it. Nowhere in the scriptures does it say Mary will be a mediator. Nowhere. It doesn't say to pray to her or give thanks to a man-made carving or a man-made painting. The time is very, very close from my perspective for the real religious creators to reveal themselves officially. This revelation will shock the world. So to all worshippers of idols, carvings, paintings of any man-made icon, you're in for one big wake-up call. Today churches are about businesses. It supports homosexuality, even as homosexuals working in a ministry. It supports abortions, promotes same-sex marriages. They are fake. I repeat, they are fake. And come from a powerless church, or powerless churches. So in closing, to all religionists, please don't take your lives when our galactic brothers and sisters come, and they are here already. We have been prepared for this coming via the entertainment industry. Whistleblowers who have woken up and are telling us we will step into the next level of consciousness. And when I say that the entertainment industry, I mean all of them, which includes the music, cinemas, art, etc. The God of humans is not as powerful as the God of infinity, because he belongs to it, which encompasses within it trillions upon trillions of life forms and planets. We were not born killers, but trained to kill. So let's stop it. Until next time, I will see you, and stay safe, and there's more videos to come. Goodbye.